So I don't usually do individual stock analysis. However, sometimes you just got to break the rules. So this is a non-portfolio company, even though we've owned it in the Profits Unlimited portfolio before. Before I go on with this video, I mean, those of you who are looking at this, like I cut myself while I was shaving. And so, that's what this is. So I just want to let you know so you can stop staring at it. But I did want to provide an explanation. But going back to what I was saying, so normally I don't do single stock analysis, but last week we had, an event that was pretty big. I mean, we had a lot of stocks in our portfolio that got hit, but it was a non-portfolio stock that got hit by such a huge amount and was such a big company that it really made me pay attention. And even though I'm not going to recommend it in the Profits Unlimited portfolio, I want to spend a little bit of time on it because it does represent a theme that we have represented in the Profits Unlimited portfolio, and that is this idea of the metaverse. And the stock that I'm referring to is Facebook. And if you own Facebook, you would have seen that, it got just destroyed. I mean, for a company that big, like we're talking about, hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, Facebook at the peak was worth $1 trillion. To get cut by 25% in a day, I have to tell you that that's sort of unthinkable. I mean, that's like, that if they were running statistical analysis, they would tell you that's at the 10 sigma event or maybe a 50 sigma event or a billion sigma event. In other words, it's not supposed to happen. If you model this using statistical analysis, this is just not supposed to happen. Companies this big simply should have willing buyers who are willing to step in, say at 5% down or 10% down or 20% down. And it goes back to a theme that I've been sort of going on for a bit now, and I talked about it yesterday on Market Talk, which is that high volatility leads to low liquidity. People are scared of lower prices, and what they do as lower prices come is that rather than seeing it as an opportunity, they see it as a risk and they step away, or sometimes even exacerbate the selling by adding their shares to a situation where there is no liquidity or there's very low liquidity, which now pushes the price even lower. So, well, that explains the market mechanism of sort of like why a company of the size of Facebook can see its price just knocked down from the previous day by 25%, which is that you've got a sort of a bubble, if you will, of sort of like a desire for liquidity, for comfort, for safety, and an anti-bubble for looking forward. And that seems to be actually pervasive in the market, in my opinion and judgment today, which is that people are highly focused on just right now in front of us and mostly looking backward. I even saw several headlines in preparing for this video talking about how there's been this huge rush of money into dividend stocks. And I won't go a lot into this, but I can tell you that from having spent a lot of time on our blacklist, which are stocks that really are of businesses that are in decline, that are borrowing money to stay in business, pumping their stocks up by keeping dividends at very high levels, buying back stock using borrowed money, not investing in innovation, that this is a recipe for disaster. Yes, and I'm sure people will come to troll me and say, yes, Paul, but in 2021, those stocks are up and your stocks are down. Guilty as charged, guilty as charged. But going back to the original premise of this video, Facebook, the metaverse. All right, let's just get into this, all right? So Facebook reports, and it says that they're going to be making like a $10 billion investment, not over 20 years, but like in the next 12 months in the metaverse. And you just have to really stop and just think, when is the last time you saw a company have so much conviction, so much belief, and that they're going to take $10 billion, a large amount of money. I mean, this is a big amount of money, and say, we believe in something that is going to happen in such a big way that we are going to go all in on this. Like we are going to take huge amounts of our time, effort, money, resources, and dedicate it to it. And Facebook, which is called Meta, after the metaverse now, is saying like, hey, we think this is going to be so big that we are willing to really set aside what are very, very valuable properties. I mean, their basic Facebook platform is still growing slowly, but still growing, and generates billions of dollars in revenue. They then have WhatsApp. They also have Instagram. They also have their business that makes hardware for, what was referred to as virtual reality. However, virtual reality is being supplanted by the idea of the metaverse. And so let's just, the forecasts are all out there, but like, what is this metaverse thing? Like, what, like in practical terms, will this let you do? And why is it important? So if you ask me why this is important, I would tell you that it's important because it ultimately delivers on something that is missing today, that is needed, desired, and even wanted. And many people will scoff at this idea, but I'll just tell you a story, all right? So my mother lives in India. I speak to her from time to time. I actually use WhatsApp to text her, to call her. And like my mother is a widow. My father died 20 years ago. And there is really, other than a phone call, and there's really no real way to interact with her. Video, the latency is really poor, so it makes it for a very difficult experience if you want to do video. So we're left with really essentially 50-year technology. Essentially, I speak to her by voice, and then I can send her texts. But I would love to have some number of experiences with her where I'm not required to actually physically be there. In the pandemic, there's no real way to get to India quite easily without risking, obviously, getting COVID or potentially exposing myself to a quarantine, maybe in India, over here, all these kinds of issues. I would still like to actually be with my mother. Maybe we could go see a movie together. Maybe we could share an experience together, cook together. My mother has always loved to cook, and I actually have always loved to cook. The metaverse allows for that. If you can build a virtual world, like say, for example, a movie theater where you actually go together, that movie is shown in this metaverse. Like, for example, if I wanted to watch a movie with my mother, and let's say I wanted to use, say, Zoom and project my screen, the latency is simply unavailable at this point in time. However, if you can solve that where we're both in the same place and you get to experience that in a virtual way where you are present in this virtual space together, experiencing something together, this has value. This has resonance for people that are apart, that are separated by distance, separated by circumstances. And this is something that we can do because the internet allows for it. It allows you to be in what people used to call cyberspace, but really it allows you to be together in this metaverse. That's the right word for it. It's this universe that is virtual, that is there, that you can still experience and feel and sense. And this is why there is so much excitement for the metaverse. It offers a new way of experiencing the world that can be shared, and it's desired, and it solves a problem, which is that today we are a global world. People from all countries live in different places. We no longer all live in the same village or town or even city or even state. And so we would love a place where we can all get together, where without needing to travel, without needing to get on a plane, you can experience life together. Now, people will object and say, well, Paul, that's quite different than actually going to see your mother. I understand that. I totally get that. Still, there are other ways where I can get some of the experience, or even a different experience that has its own particular sort of benefits, satisfactions, by using a metaverse, by creating opportunities where you can interact, experience, feel. with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, in a way that right now is very, very difficult, even if you were to put together a lot of different apps, which, theoretically you could just sort of like try and say, well, you be on the internet at the same time, and I'll be on the internet at the same time, and we'll chat. However, if you can integrate all of that together, well, that represents what the metaverse is, and also the opportunity that it represents. It represents an opportunity to really sort of mirror a lot of the things that we do in real life, IRL, and take it to this place called the metaverse, where you can now do this. And now we have a choice. Instead of always needing to be physically there, it offers a actual real alternative that is desired, that is valued. And I believe that is something that people are going to enjoy. And that represents, obviously, the human opportunity. It also represents a massive, massive investment opportunity. And this is why I believe Facebook is willing to set aside valuable properties like its Facebook platform, like its Instagram platform, its WhatsApp platform, and take all of its understanding of how to scale something. Because, I mean, they were the first ones to really scale social media up and say, hey, this is an even bigger opportunity. This is huge. I mean, if they build this, people will come and experience their lives here. And that obviously gives them, this huge lead and this huge opportunity to make money, because that's what businesses ultimately are built for, is to ultimately generate sales and to generate a profit while providing a valuable service to people. So I'm not going to tell you to buy Facebook here. It's not in our portfolio. However, 25% down in one day, the metaverse being, this big opportunity, potentially the biggest really, internet-based opportunity related to our lives, our social lives. Most likely, in my opinion, this is a buy. Again, this is opinion, not advice, not telling you to buy. This is just, like I said, opinion, not advice. And we will not be putting Facebook into our Profits Unlimited portfolio, and I won't necessarily be following up on it. So if you decide you're going to buy it, that's totally on you. You would need to follow it. But I did want to make this video because between the sharp drop, 25% for Facebook, I should keep referring to actually as Meta, because that's what the company is called today. The fact that they're putting 10 billion in and seeing and understanding the metaverse opportunity for what it is. And we have other plays across our services on this. I felt that this was valuable. Hope you liked it. Come back next week. This is Paul saying bye.